Hello everyone, this is Nikhil and welcome back to our channel Nikhil's Learning World. This is our 28th tutorial on the Kotlin programming series, and I hope you are enjoying this series and clear the concept and get confident on the Kotlin programming. Okay, and still now if you have any queries or any suggestions, please do comment on this video. And please till now if you have not yet subscribed, please subscribe the channel and share with your friends. So let's get started. This is our 28th tutorial and we will see dispatchers in Kotlin. Okay, I hope you are very excited to learn the dispatchers in Kotlin. Okay, so we will explore dispatchers in Kotlin, a core concept that controls how and where your code runs behind the scenes. If you are building an Android app and working with synchronous programming, understanding dispatchers is essential for writing efficient and crash-free code, right? Okay, so what will we learn in this video? So we will learn what is a dispatchers in Kotlin, difference between default, main, input, output, and unconfined. So when use these dispatchers, so how will we switch the thread using withContext and some real world examples as well. So why this matters? So using the right dispatchers is very essential to help us to improve your app performance, avoid the UI freezes, which is a major and very common problem with our app development, right? So we can write a cleaner and safer async code as well. So let's start with the dispatchers. What is a dispatchers in Kotlin, right? So dispatchers is nothing but a Kotlin determine which thread, okay, which thread or which thread pool is a coroutine will run on, okay. So coroutine, we have to first, coroutine it is nothing but the thread, right, or a thread pool, and on which thread coroutine we have to run, that Kotlin determines that one, okay. And there are four types of coroutines dispatchers follow, right? That dispatchers nothing but default, input, output, main, and unconfined. These are the 4 points which will be the part of your dispatchers. Okay, so let's one by one see what is a default. So default is nothing but whenever we not define any dispatchers specification, okay, we have not specified any dispatchers, that dispatcher is nothing but default, okay. So it's best for the CPU intensive task and complete the calculations or data processing. That type of dispatchers we will use as a default one, okay. For example, you can see here the code we will launch with the dispatchers in a default, okay. So next one is dispatchers input output. Whenever input and output related operations in our programming, then the coroutine will be launched with the dispatchers input output, okay. And it will be based for the network call, API integration, database operations, or whenever a file operations are like reading and writing, okay. So you can see our example like an launch input output with the dispatchers and print fetching a data from API, okay. So it's a common dispatcher. Third one is a dispatcher.unconfined, okay. Before that, dispatcher.main, okay. So dispatchers is used for the main thread, that is UI thread, okay. So in Kotlin or in any programming language like Android app development, we have to uh, design the UI, right? So at the main thread, whenever a UI thread, a main thread is nothing but UI thread, right? So dispatchers use for the main thread or UI thread. That time we have to use the dispatchers.main by using the most commonly used in Android development, updating UI updates, okay. So for example, you can see here launch dispatchers.main, and we are set to the text hello from the main thread, okay. So we are updating the text there, that is UI updating, okay. So whenever you are updating UI, that time you have to use Dispatchers.Main. Okay. So next is a Unconfined. So this is only a bit tricky. It start execution in the current thread, but may resume in a different thread after suspension. Okay, so you can see here example like same launch Dispatchers.Unconfined and running in. So this will cause it's a most for advanced cases and testing. Okay, so these are commonly used in advanced cases and the testing purposes. This unconfined but majorly main input output and default that were used in Android development. Okay, so next is a switching dispatchers. You can switch between a switch dispatchers using a with context. Okay, so it may be an input output to the main, or it may be a main to the input output with context. Okay, with context is used. So with context is used to switch the coroutine context, like changing the threads while keeping the coroutine suspended. Okay, so it's a non-blocking thread, right? So it allows us to run a block of code in a specific dispatches. For example, doing a network call or a database operations in dispatchers input output, right? And updating UI. So that time we have to switch that dispatchers input out to the main. So with context is useful for that. Okay. So key point is regarding the with context is like it does not launch a new coroutine. It just changed the context with the current coroutine. Okay, it's a suspending function, so it can be only be called inside the another coroutine or a suspended function, and it return a result. You can store the output of the block. Okay, so when you use of this context though, whenever you want to, when you need to perform a specific background work safely inside a coroutine without blocking the main thread. For example, fetching data from API and reading from the database, processing files, etc. These are the functions which with context is useful. Okay, so that's about the switching dispatchers. Okay, so next point is best practices. So use a default for a heavy computational task and use input output for a background operations. Okay, like an API or a network API network call or a database operations or a reading a file input, reading or writing a file operations. Okay, so main is for the UI updates. Okay, so main thread or UI thread. Okay, so you got the point. Avoid unconfined unnecessary. Okay, it's don't use majorly only three default input output main. These are the three major use. So switch context properly with context. That is a major point. Keep in mind. So summary in this session we have look on the dispatcher's control coroutine execution thread, that is a default for a CPU task, that is a network call. Okay, input output network and disk operation related. Main is a UI thread, UI related task we have to write onto the main dispatchers. Unconfined is advanced use case. Okay, so that's all about the today's session, and I hope you understand on that and clear the and get an idea on the dispatchers. Okay, so I hope you like this session. Please do like, share and subscribe with so share it with your friends and subscribe the channel, and we will see in the next topic as Kotlin scope functions. That is a very important concept, so we will see in the 29th tutorial. I hope you like this, and please, if you have still any queries, please comment me. Okay, so this is Nikhil signing off. See you in the next session. Hello.